So today on the Cowbridge Kitchen, we are going to make some chili cheese burritos. Dead simple to do, really filling, very tasty. You're going to need some tortilla wraps, which you can buy in any supermarket. But also you're going to need to make yourself up some chili and get some rice on the boil. I got the stuff for the chili over here. Let me show you how to get started. Okay, so for our chili, what we're going to do, we've got a cast iron pan or casserole dish on the stove here. That's what we're going to cook our chili in. I've got some ingredients down here that we need to mix together. Okay, we've got 25 grams of butter, which we're going to need for frying our onions. We have our onions. I've got 2 red onions, chopped, peeled and chopped there. Some lazy garlic, 1 good teaspoon of lazy garlic into there, and mix them together. On top of that onions, you can put a little splash now of olive oil. Okay, a generous splash. Mix that all in. Okay, the other things we're going to need, I've got 400 grams of minced beef, 1 tin of chopped tomatoes, hot chili powder, 1 beef stock cube, some smoked paprika, some barbecue sauce, and some tomato paste or tomato puree. The other thing I'm going to pop in there is some sweet corn. So we've got 1 tin of sweet corn, which we're going to decant into a container and set that aside. Okay, so at the stove, we've got some heat under our oven dish, so we're going to pop our butter into there and get that melted. Throw another splash of olive oil on it if you want, only a little splash. Okay, so once that butter is pretty much melted, we can just throw in our red onions and garlic mix. Get that into there, mix it all up. And on top of that, what I'm going to do at this stage, right at this early stage, I'm going to throw the sweet corn in, because I want this sweet corn to go a little tiny bit crispy to give a nice texture to the inside of the burrito. So throw your sweet corn on top of those onions. Get all of that mixed together and leave that cook there now for about 5 minutes or so on a medium heat, just to let that sweet corn, those onions, go nice and soft. Okay, so while that sweet corn is cooking and the onions are cooking over on the stove, we're going to make up our little sort of mix, our spice mix, okay? So into a little jar or jug, container of some sort, you want to grind up your stock cube, get that as a base in there. You're going to add 1 teaspoon of chili powder to this. Not too much, just 1 good teaspoon, not quite a full one there. You want 2 teaspoons of smoked paprika. And then as an added extra, we're going to sprinkle in some of these chili flakes. Not too many, you just want a pinch of these, okay? Because these are pretty hot and they're going to give a real special kick to that burrito. Okay, and so just to finish off this this mix, what we're going to do, we've got some barbecue sauce, okay? This is just the stuff you can buy in the shop. We're going to want about 1 serving spoon of this into that mix. A splash of hot water, just a splash, and make that into a paste. Okay, so as we can see, back over at the stove, our sweet corn and onions are all pretty much cooked. And they've been cooking there for about 5 minutes. So it's time now just to add a teaspoon of flour. Okay, just one good generous sized teaspoon of plain flour into that mix and get that mixed together. Because that's going to help to thicken the sauce up when we add it all in. Okay, So at this stage, we're going to open our tin of chopped tomatoes. I'm going to tip them straight in to that mix. There we go. Mix them up. On top of our tomatoes, the paste that we made a little bit earlier, that can go straight in. And get that all mixed together. Okay, so we'll leave that to cook now for about another 2 or 3 minutes, just so that all that paste gets nice and warm, and then we can add the rest of our ingredients. And there we are, so our mix is nice and warm. Now what we're going to add to this mix is some tomato paste. It's up to you how much you add. I'm going to add about 50 millilitres of it, okay, so a good generous squeeze of that. Get that mixed in, and then what you can do is you can pop all of your mincemeat, your 400 grams of mincemeat, into this, and then we'll let it cook. So with a lot of that into there. And mix it all in. Okay, there we are. Once all that's mixed in and it's all sort of incorporated into the sauce, you should have quite a nice thick burrito mix there. What we're going to do with this now is we're going to pop a lid on that. Get that heat down to a really low simmer and leave that cooking probably for about 20 minutes until that mince is well cooked. So while our burrito filling is simmering away cooking in our cast iron pot, what we're going to do now is going to get some rice on the boil. So I have here a pint of vegetable stock, which I'm going to pop into this pan on the stove. Get the heat under that. Okay, the veg stock, I just used some veg bouillon, or you can use a stock cube if you want, but I used about a tablespoon of veg bouillon to make up that stock. I've also got 100 grams now of plain rice, okay? 100 grams, and that is just going to go straight into that veg stock and boil away, and we're going to get this rice cooked. And there we are. What you want to do is get yourself a fork. Now mix that rice in. Bring it to the boil, and once it's at the boil, simmer it then, probably for about 5 minutes until it's just cooked. And there we are. I've just finished grating some cheese, okay? So I've grated some Parmesan cheese and some cheddar cheese. Rice, I've just checked as well with a fork. So take a fork, just test a grain, and that's cooked. That's lovely. And that's cooked just as I want it, okay? So what we're going to do now is we're going to get this rice off, put it in the sink, drain it in some cold water to stop it cooking. There we are. Okay, our rice is all drained off now. I put it into a sieve, dried it out, and we've got it into a container now. We've just checked our filling mixture, and it is beautifully cooked, and it smells absolutely delicious. So all that's left to do really is to put these burritos together. Okay, so what we're going to do first of all, and there's a lot of fluid in this burrito mix. So what we've got a sieve on a container, and we're going to decant this through the sieve, so that all of the juice, a lot of the juice, goes into that into this bowl. Okay, so get yourself a ladle and start ladling this into there, because what we don't want is a whole load of juice into the burrito. There we are. That should be enough. And what we'll do now is we will get that juice now running through that ladle by just forcing it through. So I've spent about 2 or 3 minutes now with this ladle and this sieve, and I've just squeezed all of the juice through the sieve into the container below, and this mix now is about 60-70% drier than it was when I first put it in there. And what you can do then is you can tip that juice back into the cast iron casserole dish. Right, all of our ingredients are now into containers, so it's time to put these burritos together. So get your tortillas wraps and start filling them up. So there's a number of ways of doing these. I'm only using small wraps. You can use much bigger ones if you want, but we're just going to use small ones. I've got myself a very lightly greased baking tray here and a couple of spoons. So what we're going to do, first of all, we're going to use, don't overfill these either. You can overfill them. So get a nice amount, a generous amount, however much you want, to the ends. There we are. Leave about 1/2 inch either end. Should be plenty in there. And what you want to do then is get your rice, okay, and a generous amount of rice then into the middle on top of that. And you can put as much rice in as you like, and this really sort of fills it out. This makes it nice and filling. There we are. Then get your cheddar cheese as well, however much you want. Again, just sort of pack that, not overly full, but just enough. There we are. And what you need to do with these now is you want to fold your ends over first. Okay, so get your 2 ends folded, like so, and then we're just going to kind of roll them. We're not really going to make a roll out of them as such. All we want is something that looks like that. There we are, and that then, with the folded side down, can go straight onto our baking tray. So, ready to go into the oven now. What we're going to do is get a little bit of our Parmesan cheese now. Make sure we got the right one. Yeah, Parmesan cheese. We're going to just sprinkle this over the top. Again, not too much of it, just enough to sort of get a coating on there. At this point, what you want to do is get yourself a little bit of smoked paprika. Okay, tip it out into a jar, and then with your fingers, sprinkle it over the top of him, like so. And then that can go in the oven. Okay, so we've got an oven here which is on about 180. It's sort of preheated. Okay, this can go in the oven probably only for about 5 minutes, just until this wrap has gone nice and crispy, the cheese has melted, and it's going to be ready to eat. And there we are, 5 minutes in that oven, 180, and our burrito is nice and crispy brown, and all that paprika and cheese is melted on top. Looks absolutely beautiful. Let's go and get it.